modern day Ukraine. It went all the way across, on the Kerch, the Kerch Bridge, to the other
Mhm.
side. That whole area, it was way bigger. People who spoke Ukrainian. And the reason why they don't speak Ukrainian in those areas anymore is because they were fucking genocided, It's
Well, that's not the only
ugh.
reason. So there
Not the
was like a
only reason, but
whole.
it's a big reason.
Well, another big reason is that there was like a excuse me. There was a long-standing effort. So whenever they would
Yeah,
uh,
conquer a place, they
whenever
Russify
they
it.
would show Ukrainians on like a TV show,
Mm-hmm.
um, the Ukrainians would be like, "Do you remember the show Family Matters with Urkel?"
Yep.
So the Ukrainian people, like anytime there was a Ukrainian character, they were
Oh yeah.
always like clumsy,
Yep.
stupid, ugly.
Yep.
They were just like the dumb asshole. And then that character would speak Ukrainian, and
Mm-hmm.
they would often have them like, excuse me, wearing like Ukrainian dress, but like how like you can go to a Halloween store and get like a costume for like $20 to be like Batman, and you look,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like like spare tent flaps, like it's just like just the cheapest fabric ever. So they would always make the Ukrainians like costume to show like their heritage as this like cheap plastic version of itself.
Yeah.
um
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
so that is a big part of why part of 2014 a lot of Ukrainians spoke Russians, because all of their media portrayed their own culture in such a negative way.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just, man, I'm just so sickened with this administration. Where did you want to start? How many things do you want to talk about today?
Um, okay, well, first, I want to tell you, I started recording 2 minutes ago, so
Oh,
we could have a non-traditional intro. This was our
okay.
non-traditional intro. We'll do a more on purpose one next time. But I liked where you were going. I wanted to capture the conversation. And the other thing is that the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the new intro music. And I didn't write out a list. I have like a loose framework of stuff, but I
Mm-hmm.
want to take this episode and kind of change it up a little bit from sort of like rehashing a list of things
Mm-hmm.
and, uh, expressing my feelings publicly, and switch to some more concerted talking points. And so, like, part of what I want to do this episode is kind of talk about what we want to have our messages be, and like what we want to accomplish, and what you know what I mean, like what do we want our voice to be. um but first, the new uh the new intro music. Welcome to Oh Brother News. I'm Gabe,
I'm James.
and this is Oh Brother News. Okay, so I love that music, and I picture like so many Ezra Klein videos where he has some like poignant pre-written like introduction to like a conversation podcast that he then does.
Mm-hmm.
uh and I love the idea of doing something similar. I'm basically just gonna like look at anything on another podcast that I enjoy, like stuff that Scott Galloway does, or Ezra Klein, or the Bulwark, or like whoever, and I'm just gonna like, yeah, let's just take the things that we like from everywhere. But what do you think? Do you like it?
That's all
Is
right.
it the vibe? All right, cool.
Yeah, sure. It's a vibe, actually. In fact, because as we were talking before, and I think over the week, and we've talked about it a number of times lately. But I was reading a little bit more. It's not a hard book to read, obviously, but I was reading a little bit more stuff on tyranny, and that music kind
Mm-hmm.
of speaks to the whole on tyranny and what's going on here in America right now. So yeah.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things I wanted to talk about too. Is I put that little speech in the group chat about reading on freedom. I was thinking about just like reading that speech and talking about the book a little bit, my early experiences with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking about Doge when I read about be wary of paramilitaries.
What's the connection there? I don't get that one.
How Doge was going in, they busted into the what's that place called? It's like a think tank, but it's not under the executive branch at all. It's a Institute for Peace, the Institute for Peace, and they tried to go there one time. The Doge kids went there one time, and they wouldn't open the door. Like, yeah, no, we're not part of the executive branch. You have no authority over us. And then they showed up a couple days later with a whole bunch of people with guns, you know. And the people called the police, and then the DC police came there, and they were talking to these other people who were some branch of federal government with a bunch of machine guns. And the DC police backed down and said, "We can't help you." And they let the people with the big guns go in there, and then the people with the big guns made everybody leave, and they locked the doors and closed down this place that's not even under the executive branch.
Mm.
Yeah. And I was thinking about the January Sixers and everything else, paramilitaries. I was reading lots of little things and thinking about this administration.
I was seeing. I saw several small things also. So in no particular order, some of those things are there was and I'll link to all these things. There was a speech by Meredith Whittaker where she was talking about um, the danger of agent AI or agentic AI,
Mm-hmm.
because you have to give it so many capabilities and such access uh, to be able to do sort of useful things you want it to do. Like, you want to say, hey, I want to buy these concert tickets and tell my friends about it and put it on my calendar. Well, in order to do that, it has to have access to your messages. It has to have access to your credit card. It has to have access to the internet. And it has to then, with all of that access, take data from all those places, send it off to the cloud, parse through it, combine it, come back, and then, like, web crawl. So, like, you know, you have to give them so much information that you're like making these huge security sacrifices in order to get this like very marginal functionality.
Mm-hmm.
um, I thought that was pretty interesting. An interesting video that highlights um, maga's a whole bunch of maga, like a maga cast of characters talking about the Hillary email scandal and then talking about Signalgate.
Signalgate, yeah, Jesus
Yeah,
Christ,
so it's like
so much
Trump is
worse.
on there and like I can't remember, Janine Pereiro and just like and Pete Hegseth, of course, and like several other people. I think Mike Walls too. Just like what they said then and what they say now, and like I definitely want to talk about the Signalgate
Oh
and
yeah.
like the point, like the biggest point about that I want to make is one that I haven't heard anyone else make before, and it's about everybody engages with them with this like presumption that like they're either incompetent or like genuine in some way. And I think the only way to engage with them that makes any sense, like the only way that I can watch the things that they say and the things that they do and like speak to it without denying the reality of my eyes and ears is to be like, no, they're just liars. They have no like morality or
Yeah.
uh like there is no moral or character driven or like ideological uh like force dry like propelling them, motivating them towards a set of beliefs. Like the only thing that motivates them is convenience. Like what is the thing that will play the best right now in the news to help me to have an advantage in the current news cycle? Like that is it, you know?
Well, yeah. I mean, you talk about the people defending them as if they did nothing wrong. It's
I
just a little small mistake.
I'm
Hey,
talking about like the Republicans in general, because like if
yeah.
you hear them talking about
Oh
like
yeah.
Hillary, they're like, oh, she should be arrested and
You
investigated,
should be arrested for
and
having.
like she's a traitor for like putting them on a private email server that was secured in this blah 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 way. And like then they're talking about this, like, well, like I think he's a really good guy, and like it's really just not we got to just let him. Is this people make mistakes? You just got to like learn from it and keep on moving. And it's just like they talk out of the left side of their mouth when it is good for them, and they talk out of the right side of their mouth when it's bad for someone else. Like they have no, you know what I mean? Like they have no ideology. They just say whatever sounds good in the moment.
Yeah,
That's one of my like foundational complaints with Republicans. Is just that the only thing, like, it's not that you can't trust them. It's that you can 100% trust them to like to exclusively say whatever is politically convenient.
yeah. That's the big difference between Republicans and Democrats. That's another symptom of what you hated about Democrats versus Republicans, right? Democrats, yes, there are still plenty of people who are, politics is politics and everything else, but there's plenty of Democrats who just have a sense of right and wrong that Republicans really just don't have. Like, shit, look at Al Franken, right? Al Franken, right? Me Too, stuff like that, right?
Yep.
Republicans accused of something, man, they will all just,
Like Roy
shoulder to
Moore.
shoulder. They're going to march shoulder to shoulder in defense of this person until it's so overwhelmingly, impossible to defend the person. Then maybe they'll dump them, right?
Did they ever
Democrats,
dump him? They never dumped Roy Moore.
Roy Moore, no, they didn't really.
No, they
But
did.
Republicans didn't. Yes, no. But Al Franken, which is not even close to the same thing. You
Years
know what I mean?
before you're a politician, you take a picture where you're not touching someone.
And they're asleep,
It's
and you're acting like their little hands, like, oh, and you're looking at the camera with a goofy face, like, oh, look at that, whatever,
yeah.
and shit, man, that's something 15-year-olds do. And yeah, he probably should have known better. He's, a young comedian. This is, I think,
No, but I don't
either
think that he
during a
should
pre.
have. I don't think that
No,
he should have known better. Like I completely disagree. Like
well, whatever.
you
Either way,
cannot apply the current
I'm
standard to
correct.
people in the past, and you cannot apply
Hey,
this
we've had this conversation before, but
the standard of like their current job to
you've
their
come around.
past. Like if you're a comedian in the past, like it doesn't matter if today, like
I know, I
you know
know.
what I mean. Like the stuff you did when you were a comedian is not the same as the stuff you did when you were
Which,
trying to
by
be
the way,
president. Like
you've
people can
you've
learn and grow.
you've turned a leaf on that, because I was trying to tell you about that. Like, that was my argument to you about why the crime bill in the '90s, people can't be blasting Clinton for that shit, because everybody was for it back then. But anyway, that you've come a little bit of ways on that one. But what I'm saying is this: doesn't matter. The point is, Democrats. Oh shit. Me too. He's did. Oh my god. Nope. We are not sticking with somebody who's accused of being sexually inappropriate. Bam. He is a fucking pariah, man. They they fucked him over, and that was bullshit. But Democrats, they have a sense of what's right and wrong. If you had some Democrat up there, I don't care if it's Chuck Schumer, I don't care if it's Joe Biden, if if there was any talk about them seriously doing anything like really wrong, they would fucking roll over and be like, hey, we're not defending that. Democrats are not for that, people. Hey, everybody, just let you know,
You know,
we don't support that. And they're out. Whether right or wrong, they do that. Republicans will do it. They will always stick with their criminal people.
just to get more. Oh my god! And I'm gonna show how my brain doesn't work sometimes. But what was the guy's the name of the comedian we were just talking about 1 second ago?
Al Franken.
Al Franken. Yeah, sorry.
I love Al Franken, by the way.
But just to get conspiratorial on Al Franken,
Mm-hmm.
like Al Franken was the most like capital P presidential member of the party that we've had since like Bill Clinton. Like
Oh yeah, he could have ran for
he's
president. If that thing would have
he
happened,
has
he
he has
easily
the
could have been
like
president.
yeah, he
He
has like the social
likability factor.
cachet and the likability and like the everyman of like a Donald Trump.
He
He
easily could have
has
been
like
president.
the like the liberal leaning stuff of like a Bernie, but like 30 years younger. He has like the plain spoken
Mm-hmm.
Midwestern, like, and he has like legislative
And
chops
he
and he
can
has like
explain
policy chops
everything to everybody on a level they'll totally understand and get, with
and make it
humor
funny.
and make it funny. And everybody's like,
Yeah.
dude, and he's fucking great. He's great, and
Yeah.
that Republicans really wanted to get rid of him.
Well, I don't think that it was just the Republicans who wanted to get rid of him. I think that Hillary wanted to get rid of him because she wanted to
Mm,
have it be her time, and he
mm.
was in her way.
He was
That's where I'm
not in
getting a
Hillary's
little
way.
conspiratorial.
Yeah, that's way conspiratorial. Yeah.
Mm,
What year was that even? Yeah, no.
it was before 2016.
Yeah, so I don't think he was going to run for president anyway, man. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's too conspiratorial. But let's
No,
see.
it was
Some
20.
other.
It was 2017. It was
It was
2017.
2017.
It was 2017. Oh wait.
No,
Yeah,
it
it was
was definitely.
2017. It was 2017. Yeah, here's an article, NBC News about it. Senator Al Franken said he was embarrassed and ashamed for the sexual misconduct allegations in his first interview in 8 days. His first interview 8 days later was published November 26th, 2017. So yeah, it was way after Hillary. No, there was no Hillary conspiracy in there, man.
Dude, that's not when the Me Too was.
Me Too was not a 1 year thing. I mean, it went on for a long time, but
Wow. Okay, well,
I mean, Me Too was a little bit later. The Me Too movement really started getting going after, Harvey Weinstein and Trump, the grabbing him by the pussy and all that shit. I mean, that's really when it really started taking off. But
okay, you're right.
this
I'm just
was in a
wrong.
pretty close. Actually, no, 2017 was that because 2016. Yeah, I mean, Me Too movement. It was a while ago, man. Let's see. They first used it in 2006, but it didn't start up until 2017. There you go. 2017, it was Me Too. There you go. The movement spread virally as hashtags on social media. October 15th, 2017. Alyssa Milano posted on Twitter about that. It's 2017, dude. It was Me Too. That's when it blew up.
Okay, I'm just wrong.
There we go. So anyway, that was a big
But
tangent.
yeah, it's like this is like a classic example of the Democrats bringing the regulation weight boxing gloves to a gunfight.
Yeah,
And they're like, sir, your gloves are not regulation, and they go like, no shit, dumb fuck, and then they just shoot them with their gun.
and
That's
I
why we
know
lose all the time.
and I disagree with you. I know you disagree with me on this one, but like honestly, Joe Biden, he looked absolutely like dog shit in that debate. But you know what? I still think he would have won. I still think the small,
No,
small
I don't think
one
so.
percent margin of victory, the 1.85% margin of victory Trump had, it was 1.85, or 1. What was it 1.65? Oh god, it's something like 1.45, 1.65, 1.85, something like that percent margin of victory. And the percentage of people who voted third party eclipsed the the percentage of victory that Trump had over Kamala. And I still think there's enough little places where white people just didn't vote for Kamala and just a
And
little bit of margins. I still think
Latin
Biden
people
could
just
pull it
didn't
out.
vote for Kamala. Like men just didn't vote for a woman. Yeah, I don't know. I don't.
It was so close.
I honestly, I don't think so. I
He
think
looked.
Joe would have lost worse.
I don't know. I don't think so. But either way, it's another example though of how the party just fucking rolled on their presidential nominee, the president, the leader of the party, won. Granted, really bad debate, and he had sick, his COVID, he looked like shit and everything
But it
else. But you know
wasn't.
what?
It wasn't
He
just
just.
one bad debate. It was every time he was in public,
Oh man,
he
that
he
was.
seemed like his brain, like his goose was cooked. And
I
I
don't think
think
so. I
what
mean,
really,
he
what
did the
really
state of the
killed
he did
him.
the State of the Union. He did the State of the Union. It wasn't all prompted up or anything else, and he fucking owned the Republicans. He engaged them back and forth with them and made them all defend Social Security. Oh, okay, so you guys don't want to cut Social Security, but he owned it, and that was after that debate. That was like a week or two later after he got better.
I I didn't watch. I didn't watch that thing.
Oh my
I didn't
god,
watch that State of the Union.
you should have
Honestly,
watched
I
it.
usually don't
He
watch the State of the Union.
You should have watched
Actually,
it. It was fucking amazing. And if he would have been like that the rest of the way out, shit. That debate was it was the earliest debate ever. So long before an election, that debate would have been forgotten about. Kamala kicked Trump's ass in the debate. Didn't matter. That would have been long gone. I still think Biden would have pulled that shit
I
out.
so this thing.
He
I
was the
don't think that.
incumbent.
I think that the debate got a lot of people talking, but I
Mm-hmm.
think the bigger thing was that you
Democrats got
had
scared.
you had like well you had like George Clooney and a bunch of other people who were like famous or notable Democrats or like large donors, and they were seeing him at a fundraiser, and they were like talking to him face to face, and they were like, "This dude's not all here," and they were like, "I spent, you know, 6 hours with him the other night, and he seemed like a ghost of a zombie."
Mm.
And
Oh, so what you're saying
then
is
then
Democrats
all
have.
those people started writing op-eds like, "Dude, you need to like hurry, like the clock's ticking, bro. You need to get out the race before you give the game away."
Yeah, those are Democrats that are saying that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think Republicans would have said that about Trump, who also is fucking incoherent and psycho? No, because they stick together. Democrats, we
Well, no,
think
yeah, that's totally true.
we need a leader who is blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
So we're gonna blast our
Democrats
guy.
eat their
They
own.
don't give a shit. They want power. They will stick by their guy no matter what.
That's true.
It's another example where Democrats eat our own because we have a sense of right and wrong, and Republicans have no fucking morals.
I don't think that it's so much that we have a sense of right or wrong. I think it's that we have a belief in the. Or I don't even want to say we, because honestly, I am not a Democrat.
You're not. Yeah, I know
I
you don't.
I
I
do
am.
not agree with the Democrat. I vote for them. You know, I used to be a Democrat, but I'm so fed up with the Democrats that I wouldn't say I'm a Democrat. So I can't say we, but I would say the Democrats have this like belief in the value of their moral character,
Yeah.
as if it's going to win them votes or mean something. You know, it's the
Yeah.
same thing where they're like, your testimony from yesterday was that you didn't know anything about any, war plans, or they were more specific in the question. It was like, you didn't know about any attack packages, timings, or like weapons packages, or like you didn't know the exact details of the strike. So they're like, were there the details of the exact details of the strike in the signal chat? And she's like, Tulsi Gabbard goes like, not I'm not aware of any details like that. And then he puts out the whole chat that after they go in and testify,
Mm-hmm.
and then the next day they're back in. They're like, well, yesterday you said this. Do you want to like amend your statement? And she's like, well, I don't. Yesterday what I said was based on what I did or didn't remember. So or like Tulsi Gabbard does this thing where she's like they ask her a question and they're like, as the director of national intelligence, is Russia an enemy? And she's an adversary or an ally? And she's like, well, in my capacity as a private citizen. And she's like, I'm not asking about your capacity as a private citizen. I'm asking the director of national intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, okay, well, now I have to say adversary because I can't look that dumb. uh but it's just like begrudgingly, occasionally they'll agree with reality, only if it like doesn't objectively hurt them in the moment. But anytime that it does, like they just don't have the character to say, yeah, you know what, this was in there. There's a lot of conversations that I take part in all the time. There's a lot of group chats.
Well, they
There's a
can't say
lot
that.
of.
It's illegal. It's illegal. They're
It's
doing it
not
to get.
illegal. No,
They're.
it's like you don't have to say that it's like. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to say that it's on Signal. You're like, look, there are a variety of ways that we communicate. There are a lot of conversations that we have. Some I'm a part of, some I'm not a part of. I'm working through the most relevant details in any given moment, and I have a team of people around me, and we keep records in accordance with the law. And like if I don't hold every single detail in my mind 100% of the time. That's why God made paper and Steve Jobs made the iPhone. Next question. Like they can't just say like the common sense thing, and they certainly can't say like they certainly can't say something like well, yeah, like I
We always
lied
do this. Though.
yesterday.
We always do this that way that we don't ever have to worry about preserving records under the law.
Yeah, they
But
can't
it's so obvious that they do. That's what the funny thing. The thing is, they can't say any of the other bullshit because this conversation made it so obvious that it's the norm. Because they wouldn't have just, oh, it just happened to be the first time where something like this happened, and we just, oops, we were playing around with this new signal, and we thought it'd be the way, and then P just started saying all this shit, man. I can't believe he just started telling us all this stuff. I mean, it was so obvious that it's just so routine. If they said, well, yeah, sometimes we do it, it's so plain as day. There's no defending it. There's no way they can spin it.
everybody else could have been like, everybody else, anyone could have been like, okay, yeah, so look, we had this chat on here this day, and I was a part of the group chat, but I wasn't keeping up with the messages. I
Oh,
came
but she
in and
was.
okay, but here's the thing, like you could say like, I wasn't like completely keeping up with the messages. An aide was replying for me and like relaying things verbally to me, and I misunderstood which thread we were referring to. Something along those lines, right? Like there was some miscommunication because blah blah blah. Uh, the next day, or you could even say like, yeah, okay, blah blah blah. We had the conversation, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and the next day we had a different conversation where we talked about whether or not this was appropriate and what we were going to do to change it. And so we've already made XYZ changes, and this is what we're doing going forward. Like you can't even say like, yes, there was a thing that we shouldn't have done, but we're aware of it and we've already started to work on it. Like, and you like that would be such a better answer. Or even like, it was just that dude's fault, and like the rest of us were trying to like not make the new guy feel like an idiot because we're all on the same team, one Trumpy team, one maga dream. Like like you can't even just be like, hey, look, I'm not going to throw him under the bus. Like like any of these things would be so much better than like the absolute like like it's just like
Well,
it's so absurd because
the
like
thing is,
they have to know he had
no,
the whole thing. Like
exactly. Everybody did. But the thing is this: it's perjury is one of those things that is not prosecuted that often for a few reasons. One big reason is for perjury, right? You have to show intent, right? If she said no or she said something like that, right? Obviously, she is lying through her teeth, right?
Mhm.
If you say you can't recall,
But she didn't say I don't recall.
yes, she did.
She
She
said
said it
she
a
said I
number of
wasn't
times.
aware. The first day she said I
She
wasn't aware of
She said that a
any
lot.
of that
Oh, she did.
information being in there.
Well, I'm not that I'm aware of. Cash Patel said there. Gabbard said same answer and defer the Department of Defense on that question. And I was talking to Tulsi Gabbard. She said she didn't recall because when Mark Kelly was asking her, right?
No, but
Uh,
the person responded. She said same answer,
that was
and
another
I'd
one. But
referred to
then,
the Department of Defense. And then the response from the senator was, that's two separate answers. And then she said I was not aware of any of that information in the chat. And then the next day when they asked her, they said yesterday you said you weren't aware of it being in there, and she said like what I said yesterday was based on what I did or didn't remember at the time, and like
yes,
I didn't recall what was
I
in
didn't. Yeah,
there.
exactly. Yeah, but
I forgot.
either way,
Like I
yeah.
lied yesterday because I forgot.
Or yeah, but I do not recall the exact details of what was included there. You
But if
know,
you know, but this is the thing, like if you know that the whole message thread, like that all of it is coming out verbatim the
yeah,
next day. Like I'm
exactly.
gonna go on the record and lie about it today, and tomorrow I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna have egg on my face for having lied about it today, and they're gonna be like, well, here's exactly what it was. Why did you
Well,
say
I
this?
didn't remember. I
Like,
was in the moment, and I was all scared and nervous here in Congress. I've never been here before.
but like,
Former congressman woman.
they
And
were all there for their confirmation hearings, but like,
I know I was making a joke, man. I'm thinking like, it's harder to prove that you didn't forget something in the moment. How can you prove that they didn't remember something? Prove
so
it.
this is the thing.
That's
I
why they
don't
don't
think.
charge. That's why they say that stuff. That's why they say they don't remember. I don't remember. I don't remember the detail. Oh, I don't remember exactly. It's a fast moving conversation. Oh, I don't remember if they said that. It doesn't matter if they have the transcripts. It's hard to prove you don't remember something. You'd rather look like an idiot than totally say something. No, we didn't talk about that. Well, yeah, you did. It's fucking right here. Oh, you just lied. Damn it. I don't remember.
So
You just look like an idiot. But it's
so
less
here's the
likely to get
thing.
charges.
Like in terms of like uh having a criminal
It's
um
never going to happen. I think
in
that's for
terms
that.
of having a criminal prosecution, okay, and in terms of having like a civil prosecution, okay, I do not recall is a valid argument, okay, or I plead the fifth and don't want to make myself look bad. That is a valid argument. But when it comes to I would like to continue in this job, doing this job, and if you have to say I do not recall, in my mind, and I feel like we should make this like a legal standard to which people can be held. In my
Well,
mind,
we
if
can't
you
remember
can't
what happened
remember what
2
you
weeks ago.
did and what you said when it is written down, okay? If you can't remember what was written, then you are not good enough to do this job and you got to go. And I feel like there should be a thing where if you come into Congress and you give testimony and you say that you can't remember, that's fine. But it's only going to, if you say you don't remember, it's going to take 40 votes in the Senate to fire you. You're impeachable with 40 votes if you can't remember. If you can remember and you can tell us something and you can, you know, be actually up against the penalty of perjury and tell us some facts,
Yeah, but who's going to charge you?
then you can continue to have your job. But if you have to fall back on I can't recall, then 40 people can fire you so that everyone gets fired who can't remember.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because I mean, none of these people are qualified for these jobs anyway, and they're put up there by Trump. And who would prosecute? Who would do anything? I mean, they're not going to do it. It's not going to happen. Yes, in a perfect world, none of these people would be this job. He wouldn't be president, and people would be held accountable. But it's just the Trump administration.
I mean, I'm not just thinking about like this one administration and this one right now, but I mean like the system needs to have this as a rule in place. It needs to be there needs to be like bite on the blade. There
Well, I
needs
mean,
to
there
be like
are rules in
consequence.
place, but they're just not going to be enforced. There are
Let's
rules. There are hard, fast. There are hard rules about this, and they are all guilty. If they were in the military, if they were anybody in the military, they would be court-martialed and they would be in military prison. All of them. Steve Witkoff was in Moscow. His
okay.
phone was being monitored by the Russians. Russia got all of this text. They got all this.
This and like here's the other thing too
He
is
was in
like,
Russia when they're doing it on his private cell phone, and he's getting this message, and they're talking, they're getting this whole thread going back and forth. Russia got all of it.
do
He
you
was in
know who
Moscow,
made Signal?
huh?
Do you
I
know
don't know
who?
who made Signal. I never looked into who made it, but it doesn't really matter.
Oh, when you hear this detail about them, you'll see why it matters. They're a former Russian citizen.
Okay, well, I mean, okay, that we work with somebody who is a former Russian, and that doesn't really necessarily mean anything. I mean, there's plenty of good people who came from Russia. I'm not trying to say like a Donald Trump, plenty of good people. I'm saying there are good people who are not Russian agents who are very happy to be out of Russia and are now Americans and make software. I mean, that doesn't just because it was made by somebody, excuse me, who is Russian, doesn't mean anything to me. Um, you know,
I mean, what it means to me is that there is potential for Signal to be a compromised app.
but you don't have to. Signal itself doesn't have to be compromised anything. It can be the most secure shit in the world. Doesn't matter. If they lifted Steve Witkoff's phone for 2 minutes and put another app on his phone that would just record everything, then
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how secure Signal is. You know,
Yeah.
if they were just monitoring all the transmissions in and out of this phone, right, and they're doing that stuff, they
It's not
it
even
doesn't.
have to be that complicated. If they just have a
No,
camera in his room that looks over his shoulder and
exactly,
reads it,
exactly. They just
like
have
make it
cameras
low
on him
tech.
24/7 in Russia
Yeah.
because then they would be able to just look at his screen and zoom. I mean, yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The app itself doesn't matter. The fact that it's on a private cell phone and he's in Russia and they're on this and they're typing, that's the problem. You know, it's on your cell
Yeah.
phone.
I mean, like
There's a reason
it's
why you have to go to a skiff. There's a reason why with classified information you're supposed to go to skiff. There's no cell phones allowed, no communications allowed, no listening devices, no
or
electronics in the room
you have the
because
situation room where you're supposed to go to
yes,
have these conversations.
yes, all the cell phones out there, out behind that thing, soundproof. There's a reason for that, so that there's no chance that Russia would be able to get this stuff.
And the other thing too
It's
that
a lot
I
better than
find just like honestly just like embarrassing is that there's like emojis. There's like it was like it was like a fist and then like a fire and then like a American flag, which like just as like a string of emojis like doesn't make any sense. Like the fist is punching the fire of America. Like I,
By the way, Signal was not made by a Russian guy. It was made by Moxie Marlin Spike, who's totally American, born in the U.S., born in
I'm gonna
Georgia.
have to do more research on this because I'm certain of some fact and I don't know what I'm
Yeah, sorry.
misremembering here.
I don't want our channel to be, propaganda. There's a little thing there. Matthew Rosenfeld, better known by the pseudonym Moxie Marlin Spike, is an American entrepreneur.
Put it in Notion so I
I
can
just put
include
it
it in the
in
show notes.
anyway. Anyway, sorry. Just wanted to. I was googling that since you said it because I was like, who did make it? Da-da-da-da. You know. Anyway, what were you saying? I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. I mean, I kind of did because of that little
No,
detail.
I'm just saying that like the whatchamacallit, the fact that they're just like using emojis and the fact that they're so
Prayer
like
emojis.
the fact that they're so like smarmy and glib and just like they're dropping bombs on people and like whatever you think about these people, they're still human beings and we're sending soldiers, like, you know what I mean, like the thing that they're talking about is sending someone else to go kill someone else, you know? And even if you're of the opinion that, like, you know, some of the people or even all of the people that we think are going to get killed deserve it and are bad, and that this is like a net positive for the world, like you're still taking human life. You're still sending someone else to kill people for you.
I had no problem with that on this
You know
case.
what I mean? And like you have no, like they just have no like
Well, I have no empathy
there's
for
no
these people.
seriousness.
I had no empathy for these people that they bombed, and yeah, I'm glad they got killed. Honestly,
5 of them were children.
well, I didn't
I
know
don't
about the
know.
5 children, but the other one. But you know what, though? I mean, they've been firing stuff. They've been, taking the ships hostage. They've been doing all these other things. They've been launching other things at other ships. They've been killing people left and right too. I mean, you know, hey, you know,
Don't start no shit, won't be no shit.
pretty much, I mean, it's like fucking Hamas people. You know what I mean? Like Hamas. Yes, I'm not saying all the Palestinians who got fucking killed there. They went scorched earth right in Gaza, right? But
Mhm.
there was going to be a lot of civilian casualties because of the nature of what Hamas does. I mean, they put rocket launchers and shit like that on their hospitals. They build their
Mhm.
tunnels underneath hospitals and underneath everything in residential buildings. They keep
Mhm.
people as human shield. There's going to be collateral damage in that case. I
Mhm.
think there was less of it here at the Houthis than in the Palestinians, the Hamas people. But again, it's I mean, whatever. I mean, these are bad people who deserve to be killed. You know what I mean? But um,
I just feel like the tone was just obnoxious.
what's obnoxious to me is when you're talking about killing people and you're using prayer emojis. I mean, come on, dude. Fucking prayer emoji, muscle emoji, American flag emoji. I mean, come on, man.
That's what I'm
Jesus Christ.
saying. It's like it's
That's stupid.
embarrassing
It's embarrassing all the
to be
prayer
putting
emojis when you're
emojis.
the prayer emojis when you're talking about killing people is kind of just Jesus, man. The irony, right?
It's
Prayer
just
emoji when you're talking about killing people.
it's
Jesus would not have done
incredibly
it.
tone deaf. You're making my
Jesus wouldn't
point
have done
for me.
that. Jesus wouldn't have been like, pray that we kill them all. Let's pray that we end their lives. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's stupid. It's just another example of hypocrisy, you know?
So this brings me around as I am guilty of the thing. Okay, this brings me around to a point that like very frequently bothers me when I'm watching coverage of things. Like this is something Brian Tyler Cohen does this all the time. He does a great job of it, but I disagree with this tactic. Okay, he'll go and he'll show someone saying something. They'll be like, when it's nighttime, we gotta take our sunglasses off so we can see good, and then they'll be they catch them on video wearing their sunglasses at night, and they go, "Hey, why are you wearing your sunglasses at night?" And he's like, "Well, obviously, there was a street light and it was too bright, and we got to protect our eyes." Like and then Brian Tyler Cohen would be like, see, he says the one thing the one time, and then later he says the exact opposite whenever it suits him. And like, in a world where where that mattered, like, yes, that would be a great gotcha. But I feel like that is a thing that we do constantly that no one cares about. That no one cares about. Like, I don't think that like people are so, divorced from the truth of their own eyes and ears that they don't realize this. I think people care more about winning than ideological consistency. So, like, pointing out ideological inconsistency as if it's going to be a persuasive argument, I think is a waste of time. And I
Well,
see a lot of that happening, like on mainstream news, on podcasts. Like, it seems like such a frequent thing to be like, he said the one thing and then the other thing. Look at him, just he doesn't. He's such a flip flopper. Like, being a flip flopper hasn't mattered since John Kerry lost.
well, no, I think that they're stuck in the fact that I think they're still stuck in the fact that John Kerry lost in part because people said he's a flip flopper and they think it still matters. It only matters when it's a Democrat. That's the thing, and that goes back to the first points we were talking about. Republican, and that's the line. Republicans fall in line, Democrats fall in love. Democrats have to be in love with their politicians to vote for them. They have to love Barack Obama. They have to be inspired. Yeah, it's hope for change. Yeah, Hillary, women, woo. They have to be inspired. They have to fall in love with their candidate. And if they don't fall in love, they vote third party. Fuck these Democrats. I'm staying home. Whatever. Fuck them. Republicans just fall in line. The hypocrisy, the flip flops, it only mattered because it was a Democrat. If it's a
Mm.
Republican, it doesn't matter. They fall in line. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, the Democrats gotta quit bringing hopes and prayers to a
But that's
gunfight
what makes
and
them. That's
expecting
what
to
makes
not
the.
lose.
That's what makes the party faithful vote for them. If they don't do it, they don't win. The
No,
Democrats
that's
that win, people fall in
no,
love with it.
no.
Yes.
Here's the thing. That I completely disagree. I think the people who are voting for Democrats, that you're attributing it to their uh,
Inspiration. They're
strength of character, their like JFK-ness, let's say, their Obama-ness. Uh, that's not what they're voting. That's not why they're voting. They're voting because Clinton uh, reduced the deficit and brought down crime. That's what they're voting for.
But they didn't vote for him in that. They didn't vote for him for that in '92 when he got elected.
So
He was a nobody at that time. He was a fucking Arkansas hick who had the state with like the 48th ranked state in the nation.
right, but he was.
But he sold it, man, and everybody believed him. They're like, "Wow, look at him playing! Look at him playing the saxophone on Arsenio! Oh my God, this is a new generation! Look at this guy!" And they all fell in love.
No. So the thing that I'm saying is it's not just Clinton, okay? But like Clinton himself was trading on the coattails of JFK. And JFK was trading on the coattails of Lincoln. And I don't know
Well,
the details
Lincoln,
of the politicians far enough before that. Yeah, because with JFK, the the alignment to um, the Democrats switched
because of the
from.
civil rights and stuff like that.
Yes, because like
Okay,
JFK was like, okay, I'm going to flip and I'm going to be on the side of civil rights, and you know, that was a big switch because
which is
prior to that, the Republicans, because like if you remember, Lincoln was a Republican. Like the Republicans were the ones who were like, yeah, civil rights, and it was all the Southern Democrats, the Dixiecrats, who were like making Jim Crow. And then when it got to Nixon versus JFK, JFK was like, hey, this civil rights thing is getting pretty huge. I'm going to just tag on to the, social momentum of this thing. And he flipped his party from being for all of the Southern Jim Crow to be, oh, we're going to be on the civil rights side now. And then we just rode that all the way out through Obama. And like, this is the thing that I'm saying is that like the person who comes in is trading on the success of the person in the past. A lot of times, I don't think that they're voting for Democrats because like they really believe the hope and change pitch, or because oh yes, the moral high ground is like such a valuable thing. They're voting like there's only one way that you vote. Okay, like there's only one thing that matters, and it's like, is this guy going to help me directly? And they remember or they've heard the stories about how this other guy from this party helped people they know
Mm,
directly, or he
I
helped
don't know,
them
man.
directly, and they're just like, I'm just going to go with this party because it worked out in the past.
That doesn't that argument does not hold true for Clinton '92. I mean, think about it. Before Clinton, you had 12 years of Republican presidency. You had a 4-year stint with Carter, right? And a lot of people would argue didn't go so hot. Before that, you had a bunch of Republicans. I mean, Democrats. Shit, I'm gonna come on a wall back here. Before Clinton, God, Republican. I mean, you could go all the way back to yeah. I mean, LBJ. You had Nixon, Ford, right? Two Republicans back to back. Then you had a little 4-year stint with Carter. Then you had 12 more years of Republican presidency. Clinton, they weren't thinking. I mean, yes, he pitched JFK. He had little videos because he met JFK, and they did that little thing there when he was a kid. But it had been such a long time since Democrats really felt like the Democratic Party president would save the day. I mean, it's been so long since then. I don't think it's like he was writing on JFK. That was 30 something years earlier. You know, that would be like somebody running right now for election, running on the legacy of. Well, I guess it'd be like Bill Clinton. You know what I mean? But I don't know, man. 30 years
Let,
back, 30 something years back is a long time. I don't think. I think it's just
let's
they
take
fall in love. Anyway, we move
let's
on.
take somebody like your mom.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, your mom isn't voting for Kamala Harris or Joe Biden for that matter because of the moral high ground, or because she loves all of the policies, or there are even ones in there that specifically benefit her. She's voting for them because she's voting for the party, and she became attached to the party a long time ago. I don't know when, but it was a long time ago. And at some point, there were some candidates and there were some policies that took her from I'm thinking Democrat to I'm voting Democrat to I am a Democrat. That's the thing that I'm saying is like a lot of the people who are voting for Democrats are not voting so much for the current candidate. They're voting because they had that process of like, well, I'm leaning Democrat, I'm voting Democrat, I am a Democrat. And it's all the things that like push them over those boundaries. That's what's getting the vote today. There's this big like lag in time. This like a decade ago, this was where the battle was actually won. And now you're just seeing it like played out. I think that's true for a lot of people. Certainly not everyone. Certainly there's like a bunch of people in the middle, which with things being so polarized, it seems just absolutely like brain dead to me to be like, I don't know, it's a real toss up. It's just that seems really absurd. I think like if you go back if you go back to the pre-Trump era, I think that was a pretty reasonable position. Like I don't know,
I don't think it ever was. I mean,
Bush, Gore. It's like it's not.
oh, that infuriates me. Oh God, I wanted to punch every single person who thought that way back then. History has
Okay,
only proven me right on that one.
but like comparatively, like they were much more similar than
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 Trump and anybody on the other side. Yes,
Trump and anybody else. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like
that's not saying much
today,
though. I mean,
but that was true for a long time. They were very similar for a long time.
hmm. Anyway, I don't know. Either way, point is, Democrats and people on the left, people who vote for the lefty candidate, they have to they have to be inspired. Republicans don't. Republicans play the long game. They vote for the Republican. They vote for that person. The conservatives. I'm not saying everybody's a Republican, but the conservative people, the people who don't identify as Republican. I'm not part of either party. I just like my freedom. Okay, we know who you're voting for. You know what I mean? Uh, yeah, they fall in line. Democrats fall in love.
I'm gonna take this to my. Um, oh wait, this is the other one. I thought that I put the. Hold on, let me just pull up the thing that I wrote that I want to read through. Okay, so this was from the group chat, and here's kind of the preamble to the part that I'm going to read. So
Mm.
I sent a video that I'll link. That was someone who's like, "Hey, here is a way that you can uh, reconcile the government while addressing or the government's budget problems while addressing poverty. This is like a common sense solution that like no one's even discussing, but like the solutions are right there." And I put it in the group chat, and your mom is like, "Yeah, I've heard that kind of plan before, but
Mm.
like this stuff doesn't ever happen. You know,
Yeah.
people vote against common sense. They
Yep.
vote
They vote
against their
against their
own
interests
interest.
all the time.
Okay,
Yep.
and like they have these prejudices. They're afraid. They believe in misinformation. Okay, so
Yep.
here's my response, because like this is the thing I want to talk about, is like the bones of this response. It's not just prejudice and fear and misinformation. I've been reading Freedom by Timothy Snyder. Also, great book. He also wrote On Tyranny.
Hmm.
I think we were talking about that before the recording. Anyway, he's a really accomplished historian. I watched his Yale history course on the history of Ukraine, listened to it. All the lectures from the 26-week course are available free as a podcast. I'll get a link to that too. Anyway, in Freedom, he talks about how in America we have this idea of negative freedom in our culture, that the natural state is free. And so to become or increase freedom, you have to remove blockers. As he explains it in the book, he gives examples, and it seems very clear that removing constraints doesn't create freedom. I'm still pretty early in the book, but highly recommend it, especially the audio version, which is read by him. And the other thing worth mentioning is the difference between the parties and the people in terms of conservative versus progressives versus radical. We have this idea in American politics that the Republicans are conservative because they were. But under Trump, they aren't at all. They're actually far right radicals. And they have the negative concept of freedom. What makes you more free? Less government, less immigrants, less taxes, less regulations. And to accomplish those, you provide less services to the people. And if you're Trump, then the execution of that pitch is a self serving grift so corrupt it makes you think, surely it's not that corrupt. The system wouldn't stand that. But it does, because the guardrails have been steadily eroded for 50 years. Then we have the idea that Democrats are liberals or progressives, but they're not. Democrats are conservatives. That's how far right America has shifted. When Chuck Schumer gives them the budget CT for free, it's because he's trying to maintain the status quo. Who on the left do people get
Yeah.
excited about? Bernie and AOC. And why is that? Because they're not conservatives. Bernie is a social democrat, which anywhere else in the world is a moderate position. And in most places that have democracies, like real functioning democracies, social democrat policies have already been implemented. Okay. They already have, you know, better work life balance and like healthcare and like all these things. Uh, but here, Republicans have called us radicals, or Democrats radicals, and themselves conservatives for so long that we're the frog in the pot of boiling water. We don't even realize that our concept of left and right has shifted way over to the right. And this is a huge part of the appeal of Trump. And it's the same appeal of Bernie and AOC, which is why you see the same people voting for both, because they don't want the status quo. The status quo is a $7 minimum wage, 20 in some states. When to have the same buying power as someone making minimum wage in 1970, the minimum wage would need to be, how much do you think?
I know the answer.
Okay, $67. It would need to be $67 to equal the buying power of the minimum wage in 1970. Okay? And the Democrats have been selling hope and change and delivering business as usual for so long people don't trust them. And choosing to die on the hill of supporting every minority group has amounted to leaving men behind, being slow to embrace new media, and defying common sense in a way that makes Republican misinformation attacks palatable, because they at least agree with a kernel of truth. They agree that things aren't great and that there are problems. I heard this described as oligarchs versus corporatists, and it rings so true to me. We don't have a left. We have a far right, and a center-right, and a few independent or radicals, quote unquote, that are centrists. And part of the problem is that Democrats are arrogant and unwilling to examine their faults and change them. Take something like the mountains of regulation that prevent us from building housing or high speed rail, for example. And then you have superdelegates on the Democratic side that prevent the party from having a radical candidate. Like in 2016, when we probably would have won if we ran Bernie against Trump. And oh, what a different era this would be if that had happened. And then also, the Democrats are playing into the narrative that being conservative is what people want because Republicans are quote unquote conservative in name. This is Chuck Schumer bending over. This is Kamala campaigning with Cheney's and getting Republican endorsements. That doesn't appeal to people on the left. And it objectively is not liberal or progressive. It's conservative. And the Democratic Party is much harder to shift because, again, superdelegates. We tried in 2016, it had huge momentum and a great candidate with great plans. And yet, we keep talking about unemployment and the stock market and policy. And those things only appeal to the wealthy and corporations because, again, 70% of the stock market is owned by the top 1%.
I heard your argument. I read about it. I thought about it.
Huh?
But I disagree
Okay.
a little bit. I don't think that the Democrats are a conservative party and they're just a super far right party, right? I think what it is the Democrats, like Kamala campaigning with Cheney, they are recognizing the simple principle, the Overton window. They are
What's the
recognizing
Overton window?
the Overton, the Overton window. You type it in here. Okay, 1 second. Okay, here's the definition. The Overton window is the range of subjects and arguments politically acceptable to the mainstream population at a given time. It's also known as the
Okay.
window of discourse, right?
Okay.
Key to the concept is that the window changes over time. It can shift or shrink or expand. It exemplifies the slow evolution of societal values and norms. That's Wikipedia for you. Okay, I'm not
Okay.
plagiarizing. All right. Yeah, and they have you have your Overton window. In Russia, Ukraine negotiations with Trump, you can explain this with the Overton window also, right? You have one person who's way over here on one side, right? If you have one person that's way over here on the other side, far polar opposite, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Where is the real Overton window? What does the mainstream population think if they're all squarely centered in the middle and you have two radically opposite people? It's going to be a really 50-50 close thing, right? But usually the center of the people, right, the window, is not squarely in one section. Usually there's a little bit of a shift. More, 60% agree with this or 65% agree with this, right? The Overton window kind of moves around, shifts from left to right, right? Kamala and Democrats are like, hey, as the Republican Party keeps going further and further and further to the right, right? Now, here's what happens. They do shift some of their positions a little bit away from the left, a little bit more to the right, to try to still be on the side where the majority of people are. Now, here's
Mm-hmm.
what happens. You keep doing that, right? You keep shifting a little bit more right, because you want to try to get the most people on your side, because a lot of people, all right, well, they agree with us on some of these things. They don't agree with them on everything. So we're still closer to their position than the person way over there, right? And that's the mainstream. That's the theory about it, right? And it's a sound approach, right? The problem is if you keep doing that, one party keeps going further to the right, the other ones keep chasing you a little bit further to the right. Yes, you do kind of get to what you're saying, like, oh, they're more like a Republican Party. They're really not, but
No, they're not like
you can see what they're
Republicans.
saying, though.
They're conservatives.
They're
Because I'm just waiting for you to finish because
what you're saying is they're shifting. You're saying that because they're shifting some of their stuff here a little bit more to the right, they're no longer a liberal party. They're a conservative party, right? And
But what does it mean to be a conservative? It means averse to change or innovation and holding traditional values. That's
yeah,
Oxford Dictionary.
I don't think
Averse to
that's what
change or
they,
innovation.
huh?
That is
Yeah, and that's definitely
averse
not
to
the
change or
Democrats.
innovation.
That's definitely not the Democratic Party.
That is absolutely the Democratic Party. Did they
Come
raise
on,
the
dude.
minimum wage? Did they start taxing the rich?
Here's the thing. Remember, they have put forth a lot of these things here, and they still couldn't overcome the filibuster. And then they were talking about blowing up the filibuster. And if Kamala was if she had become president and the Democrats had the majority, I think they would have actually this time
Why
around
didn't they
pulled.
blow up the filibuster when Obama won?
Well, because Manchin and other people in there in the Senate wouldn't go for it, and they wouldn't allow it. And you still need to have the majority to do it. And they didn't have Lyndon Baines Johnson senates. They had 51, 52, 53 senates at the most. They
No, no,
never
no, no,
had
no.
a huge
The
majority.
you don't need that to get rid of the filibuster.
Yes, you do. In this
The
in the Senate,
the
you do. You need
the
to have.
party the party that comes in gets to set the rules for the Congress.
Yes, and when you have two or three of the senators on your party, like Joe Manchin, Kirsten Sinema, and there was one other one who said, absolutely not, we are not getting rid of the filibuster, and every Republican saying they're not getting rid of it, how do you pass it? You don't. You don't have the majority anymore. A few people make a big difference. The makeup of the Senate makes a huge difference. You would need to
Okay,
have,
man, but I just
I'm
don't
just saying,
agree.
I know
They're
you don't
not
agree. I
they're
know, but
not accomplishing hope and change. They're
that's not the same thing
accomplishing
as not wanting
business.
to, though. That's not the same thing as not wanting to.
Yeah, it is.
It's not.
It
It's
is
not.
because I don't care about what your intent. I care about what your outcome is.
Yeah,
What do
well,
you accomplish?
that's like saying you're. Uh, I'm trying to give a good analogy here. Chicago Bears take away some of your personal feelings about the Chicago Bears. Okay,
I don't care about
the
sports
players
enough to have any personal
themselves
feelings.
want to win. The players want to win. They want to go and win. Damn it, but they don't. They
Sure.
come in. They have a 4-12 season. Does that mean that they had no intention of winning? No,
No, but it means that what they did. It means that what they did wasn't good
didn't
enough
work.
for them to win.
Correct. There you go. That's fine. I'll give you that. What the Democrats want to do, they didn't do enough to get what they want. They couldn't overcome everything they wanted to do. It doesn't mean that they're a
Okay,
conservative party and they don't want to do it.
but dude, like, when was the last time that a Democrat, okay, did enacted some form of radical change, and what was it?
Joe Biden, and there's a number of things that people still haven't felt yet. And Obama was, but
Radical. Which thing? Pick your favorite. Pick the most the one you could argue for the most easily.
okay, Joe Biden trying to get rid of everybody's student debt.
But he wasn't trying to get rid of everybody's student debt.
It was. It just kept getting shot down over
No,
and
no, no.
over
But
and over
that's
again. They
that's the
kept
thing.
having to retweak it and retool it and
He
trying to
no.
get it
He
and
was
retweak
he
it
was
again.
going to get rid of $10,000 of student debt for everyone who had a loan guaranteed by the federal government, $10,000, and he was going to give $20,000 if you had a Pell Grant. It was 10K or 20K, and most people who have student loan debt have over 60K. So no, he was not trying to get rid of all student loan debt. He was trying to win some votes by getting some student loan debt.
It was a lot.
It was no, it's $1.4 trillion of student loan debt, but
Yeah,
he was
1.4.
trying to take $10,000 off of everybody's. It was like 15% for some people and much less for many other people.
And but there's a lot of things they're trying to do. I mean, let's see here. The Chips Act was fucking huge. It will be transformative. Well, actually, there's a funny thing too. I can't believe the Trump administration was going to get rid of it. But the Chips and Science Act, right? Incredibly transformative. It is fucking bonkers to me that Trump would want to get rid of it, right?
It's not bonkers to me because his entire thesis was that Biden was the worst president ever, and everything that he did was to like harm the country, and he was
But
actually a traitor. So why would you
Jesus,
be for anything that he did? Why would you admit that
oh
he
my
did anything
god!
right?
But I mean, the thing is, it's about in semiconductor production chips in the U.S., so we're not reliant on. You know what happened? Hold on 1 second. We got to pause. We got to pause. What's up? What happened? Either
Yeah, okay,
way,
we're back.
long story short, we're back. Sorry, child emergency. But I mean, here it's to make America produce semiconductor chips. That way, technically, we wouldn't have to protect Taiwan if we didn't really want to. It boosts all the domestic research, jobs, chips, defense. I mean, it's truly, truly America first. you know, why are we buying 90 something percent of our chips when we can make them all here? And it would be transformative for decades and decades to come. In so many ways. There's
Yeah.
that one. There's a lot of
I
transformative.
don't think that that's radical. I don't think that like an across the board infrastructure in like crucial national security, economically booming industry, like investing in American business. That's not radical or transformative. Like Obama
Okay.
bailed out the banks with like billions of dollars. Like then Bush took us to war in Iraq and gave Halliburton injected. We're constantly giving money to big businesses in America, picking a different industry. Like, ooh, that's
Well,
not that's
cars.
not radical or
What
transformative.
about what about cars? Right under if Trump wouldn't be if they wouldn't be rolling everything back, they finalized the rule that said by 2032, which is not that far, it's 7 years, 7 years from now,
Hmm.
right? It would have had in place where 60% of the cars had to be electric, to get the climate change stuff done. You know what I mean? To stop all the the pollution stuff like that. That would have been transformative. Things
No,
things are things can be very transformative and hugely consequential, but it doesn't mean they happen overnight. 7 years
that's
is
what I'm
not
saying.
that
Like
long.
that's what I'm saying is like those things are not radical because here's the opposite version of this argument that I had. Okay, all through the last year of the Biden presidency, I'm talking to my wife, who again is Ukrainian, and she's saying, you know, Biden is basically giving us enough to say that he gave us something. And I'm saying, like, no, Biden wants to give you, all the things you need, but the Republicans are just not letting him. And she's like, no, we needed like we're getting stuff like now at this like super slow pace, but like what we needed was attackums on the first
Hmm.
day, and
Oh
what we
yeah.
needed was helicopters at the beginning, and like what we needed was like all of the things that we needed to
Oh
win.
yeah. That they
When
eventually
we
get
when we
years
could
later.
use them to win, like we needed planes and pilots and helicopters and air defense and
Yeah.
like et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We needed the stuff on the day, like
Yep.
getting it 2.5 years later, slowly, hopes and
Hmm.
prayers is not it. And like, this is the thing is uh, like I lost the argument, right?
Well, here
Because
it's the thing.
because well, presidents are limited in what they can do, blah blah blah. And then Trump comes in, and what does he do? He bulldozes everything. He runs over everything. He's changing the way that voting works with executive order. He's eliminating departments of the government. He's putting
Well,
WWE superstar women in charge of shit. He's got bloggers running the FBI. He is burning shit the fuck down, man. Like, so to sit here and tell me that like the best Joe Biden could do is like make a brittle investment in American business again, another like trickle down economics, a 15-year play. Like, are
here
you
there's another thing.
fucking kidding me?
Well, here's
Like,
another
that's
thing.
not transformative at
There's
all,
another
and that's
flip
not
side.
the most that he could have
Hold on,
done.
hold on though. You're giving Trump a lot more credit. Yes, he is coming in, and yes, he is trying to do all these things, and he's putting on the illusion that he's all powerful and I can just will it and it's done, right? And it starts to get done. They go in there and these doge kids and they're fucking, fucking goons go in there, right? And they go in there with their guns and they try and shut people out and they lock them out of their building and everything else. And you know what happens? It goes to court and they all say, yeah, you fucking can't do that. Put all those fucking signs back up. All those people for USAID, all the people for this department, all the people say they all have to come back. You have to bring them all back. What? What? Yeah. Fuck you. You have to bring all back. That was illegal. Okay. Then all the things with like the Ukraine. Oh, we're doing this. We're going to pause it. Well, it was already appropriated by Congress. He had to give the money. He could pause it for a minute and then they undid the pause a week later. That money, they had to get delivered, right? All these big things that you're talking about, how he's just coming in with the bulldozer and changing everything. He is trying to. And so far, he keeps getting shut down by the courts because it's not legal. Biden just didn't try to break the law. Biden didn't try to break the law. Trump doesn't give a shit about the law. It's easy if you don't give a shit about the law or the Constitution or the rules of how you govern. You just come in there. I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want, and it looks like, oh my god, he's doing whatever the fuck he wants. And then you look at the news, and a little bit later, it's like, oh my god, yes, he's trying to do whatever the fuck he wants. And then the court say, yeah, you can't do whatever the fuck you want, dude. Yeah, I know you appointed me, but fuck you, you can't do that. Hire them all
I
back.
mean, okay, so
So
with the hiring them back, right? So this is the probationary employees. This
that
is like
was that one. There's
this
also
is
the
several
the
thousand
people
people.
deporting everybody. The
But here's what's
the
happening with those people. Here's what's happening with those people. Okay,
I know.
they're still on, and they have been the entire time on administrative leave. So they're getting paid to not work.
Hmm.
Okay, so like,
That's the
and here's
government's
the
choice.
thing: like, it is an effective thing to get rid of an agency by paying people not to work.
I know.
right? Because like
Well,
some people are getting fired, and they're like, well, okay, I want to keep working. I need to pay my rent. I'm living paycheck to paycheck because I'm not whatever, not economically responsible or well off enough to not. So they're they moved on. So like you're having people who are going off to do other things. You are effectively getting the thing done. Yeah, like the initial thing that you did might not stick, but the effect that you're having, okay, is still profound. And like this is the thing that none of those things are radical. Like I don't think like the most radical things I could think of is like Obama
Obamacare,
making
right?
the ACA, right? And like or like I guess like the most radical thing from Biden is like locking the price of insulin at like $35 or giving Medicare the ability to negotiate. Like those are like, you know, radical adjacent. But like no one is doing anything as transformative as like saying like we're going to end homelessness and hunger by giving everyone UBI. We're going to use the Emergency Powers Act to be like there's not enough houses for people, so we're going to build 500,000 houses in the next,
He
18
did.
months.
He did impose the 15% minimum corporate tax. I mean, I know that's not. It doesn't sound like something radical like ending slavery. But when you figure with George W. Bush and Trump, I mean, ExxonMobil didn't pay a fucking dollar in tax. So imposing 15% minimum corporate tax is, to Republicans, fucking radical. What the fuck? 15%?
I
I mean,
mean, I saw this graph the other day that was like the amount, like the dollar amount of tax
yeah,
paid by immigrants was more than like 20 different companies. And it was like big companies,
yeah.
like combined, not like individually, but combined because, and then like the chart would show like effective, it would show like their earnings in millions, their the amount of taxes that they ended up having to pay, and like what their effective tax rate was. And like nobody had a 5% effective tax rate. Like all
Yeah.
these companies were less.
Well, if you remember,
Some of them were like in the negative, like they
if
were
you
getting
remember,
like a massive refund.
if you remember BP, the Deepwater Horizon oil spill under the when George W. Bush was there, the pipe burst, or the thing caught on fire, then the pipe was down there and it's just pumping oil into the Gulf of Mexico for fucking however long it was, weeks. You remember that?
Yeah,
Yeah. Do you know what they paid in tax that year?
nothing.
Not only did they not pay anything, they got reimbursed by the federal government.
Well, they had a catastrophe.
Exactly. And they got their write off the oil spill cleanup stuff as deducting from their taxable income. And with everything else they end up getting money back from the federal government. They paid less than nothing. They got money from the federal government.
Look, we have socialism in this
Exactly.
country.
I
It's just
know.
only for
Exactly. That's Elon
businesses.
Musk, man. He's the fucking number one welfare queen.
I don't like the like. Uh, I say it sarcastically, but you say it like meaning it.
Well, he is. Elon Musk is a welfare queen. He is. The stereotypical thing that Reagan used to use, like, oh, these welfare queens and blah, 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 right? It'd always be some black person, whatever, right? It wasn't a black person, but it's an African. An African American, Elon Musk, is a fucking welfare queen, man. He sucks the tit of America and just guzzles down, baby. He gets all that tax money. It's the only thing it's what makes him. If it wasn't for that our tax money,
I,
he'd be nothing.
I think that like when you talk about him getting tax money, it's him creating a business.
It's subsidies. It's subsidies, government subsidies for him, for his companies. He he would have never had any of this. He wouldn't be where he is without the government bailing him out and giving him tons of money. His company, SpaceX, would be nothing without the US. Without the US got subsidies, there is no SpaceX.
Okay, but our space program would be way behind if it were not for SpaceX.
No, it
And
wouldn't.
And
If they
electric
wouldn't have scrapped
cars
it,
would
if
be
Republicans wouldn't have
nowhere near what it is.
no, our space program was just fine as the envy of the globe until Republicans said, you know what? Why are we spending money on space? We can give our rich buddies a whole bunch of money and let them do it, and it's a corporate private way. Yay! And it costs way more money.
It
And
costs dramatically less. But
how you figure?
prior to SpaceX, the cost of a launch, taking something up to space, was $250 million
So they didn't have reusable rockets.
because they didn't have reusable rockets.
That doesn't mean anything. Yeah.
SpaceX made reusable rockets. They brought the cost down to 16 to 25 million a
Okay. You
launch.
don't think the
It's a
U.S. government
90% cost reduction.
You don't think the U.S. government would have done that with another 20 years of research and development? Come on, man. They would have
I mean,
gotten there too.
another
It-
20 years, another 20 years of research and development, we still wouldn't have it.
we got
What
rid
if,
of when they stopped the space program here, the U.S. space program. Private. When did they do it? It was a long time before
you know,
SpaceX because we were sending people up in Russian rockets for like 10 years.
if your question is, could NASA have done it had it been
Hell,
funded and incentivized properly? Yes.
and it probably would have been cheaper.
If we had done that instead of, I don't know, invading Afghanistan and Iraq and spending $1 billion a day every single day for 20 years, yeah, we could have afforded a lot of shit.
Yeah.
I feel like us going into Iraq, Afghanistan was like the American version of like making ourselves go bankrupt the way that Russia did trying to win the space race.
Well, they didn't go bankrupt trying to win the space race. They went bankrupt trying to win the arms race.
Uh,
they were never. I mean, they won the first shot in the space race, and after that, it was all America. They,
yeah,
I mean,
they had the first satellite and the first rocket and the first animal and the first person.
yeah, they got there first, and then yeah, we went to the
Yeah,
moon and never looked back.
yeah,
But yeah. Yeah, I mean, SpaceX, man. I mean, shit. They got $3.7 billion of subsidies by 2024. SpaceX is, tax dollars money going right to Elon. 3.7 billion.
yeah. I still see what the Democrats are doing as so much more conservative because like the Democrats aren't trying to the Democrats aren't taking government and saying it has to fundamentally change. They're not looking at like the social landscape and saying it needs to be radically different. They're not pushing for change. Like even you, right? When we were talking about Bernie and Hillary, okay? I was like, Bernie's going to come in, he's going to do this radical stuff. He's going to make healthcare free for everyone. He's going to make education free for everyone. Like these are going to be like massively transformatively, valuable things. We're going to change the way we tax people. We're going to change the way inheritance works. We're going to change the blank checks go into the military. Like those are the things that are transformative. We're going to rebuild the middle class. That's transformative. That's radical. Okay? And like the Democrats oppose that because like this goes back to the like oligarchs versus corporatists
I don't
because
think that's what it
the
is.
Democrats are funded by corporations. It's how you get like
Eh,
Obama coming in on like a wave of support of
Wall
like
Street money.
grassroots organizer
No, it was
and
Wall
like
Street money. It was dark money. Hillary actually had more of the grassroots money against Obama. He had the Wall Street dark money before
no, but I
it
mean
wasn't
I mean
reported.
he was a grassroots organizer.
Sure, okay.
Yeah, but then he comes in and what does he do? He with the entire government stacked in his favor.
He was responding through the Overton window, and he was trying to govern more from the center and try to bring everybody along and
Right,
make.
but like this is
Yeah,
the thing. Like, why do we keep trying to bring them along? They have
I
shown
know.
that like they will
They got better. He got better. He learned. See, that's where he fucked up. If we would have had Hillary, a lot more shit would have happened right off the bat because she knew by that point in her career, in her life, she knew there were battle lines and it's just do it, get it done. There ain't no. She knew what you're saying. It's like, yeah, you can't just play along and get along and try to bring them along with it. She knew it's a fucking knife fight. And she was ready for it. That's why she was making fun of him on the campaign trail in the primary. Like, He says it's going to be hope and change, and the clouds are going to open, and the sun will come down, and everything's going to be. It's like, yeah, no, she knew the reality of the situation. The Clintons in the 90s, Newt Gingrich and the Republicans in the 90s, she knew what it's like. She knew it's you get in there, you have to get your shit done. They're going to fuck you over every single chance they get. And Obama was naive and young and green. In his second term, he got way better because he realized, wow, yeah, they're never going to fucking let anything go through, even if it's good for the country. You know? So, but again, man, Democrats want hope and change. They want idealist people that everybody falls in love with. Then they get in there and they see the reality. Even you with Bernie. Here, Bernie, it's an idealist. You fell in love with Bernie. Yes, this is the message. Yes, yes. And he's like, yeah, we can do this. We have millions of people marching out in the streets. We need millions and millions and millions of people. Blah, 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 right? Yeah, it sounds good. People fall in love with that message. If he would have got elected, what would have fucking happened? He would have had a Republican House or Senate or something like that in there. He would have had, no majority. He'd had Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema still, which effectively gave him a 50-50 Senate. And when he went to do all these things, it wouldn't have happened. And then you would, instead of idealizing Bernie Sanders, you would be saying, fuck him, man. Even Bernie Sanders said all that shit. And look, nothing's getting done because that's not the way shit gets done. You
No,
know?
I disagree because I feel like a lot of the reason that like the down ballot turnout was the way that it was when in 2016 was because of the way that people wanted Bernie, and then they snaked in Hillary.
If they wanted Bernie, then they could have fucking voted for him in the primaries, man. The majority voted for Hillary. God, I'm tired of this fucking Bernie thing. He got the minority of the votes. He ran in the Democratic Party and he lost to Democratic voters in the states. And he didn't get, even without super delegates, he didn't even have the majority of the delegates. The majority supported Hillary. He's a Democrat. God. He could have ran as a third party and really fucked everybody like Nader. He would have had a bigger share of the vote than Nader for sure. Would have had the same result. Would have split people on the left. But I mean, shit, fuck, he lost. Oh God, I'm so tired of 2016. That was so long ago. But it still makes me mad when people still keep bringing it up. Though he lost the primary without superdelegates.
I mean, it was 696.92 to 700.47.
Yeah.
49.59% to 49.84%.
If you look at the popular vote, she had 16,917,853 voters to his 13 million. She beat him by 3.7 million more people voted for Hillary than Bernie without superdelegates. That's just 3.7 million more voters.
It's because most people don't vote in primaries.
No, and the people who do are Democrats, and he ran as a Democrat. That's what you get, man. You run in a Democratic primary, you're running for a Democrat. 4 million more Democrats voted for Hillary over Bernie. That's why she was the nominee, plain and simple.
Do you know why more people voted for Hillary than Bernie? Because the Democrats are
And look at the
conservative.
map. And look at the map at the states that Hillary won, and look at the map of the states that Bernie won. Right
Where's the map? Show me the map.
here, I'm gonna put a little screenshot
I don't
here.
have a map.
I'm putting it here in our Oh Brother News thing here. Just
In
that's wait. That I took a picture of the map of the world. Hold on, let me see if this.
wait, where'd you put it?
Here we
If
go.
you paste,
There we go.
put
The
it.
second one. The second one.
Wait, where?
Oh Brother News
I swear,
Discord.
you put stuff everywhere but the Notion for the episode.
I
And I
don't
have
even
to
have
pull it
Notion
all out.
open. So if you go to Oh Brother News on here, now
I'm
look at
looking
these
at it.
states. California went to Hillary. Nevada went to Hillary. Arizona went to Hillary. Right? Illinois went to Hillary. New York, Pennsylvania, most of the North, all of the eastern states that would vote for a Democrat in the thing went to Hillary. You had Ohio, Kentucky, blah blah blah. All the yellow states went to Hillary. Look at the green states, the states that Bernie won. You think Bernie would have taken Oklahoma, Kansas, Wyoming, Utah, Idaho, the Dakotas in the general election? Probably not.
Wisconsin, Michigan.
Maybe,
Yes, I think he
maybe,
would have.
maybe those
I
two.
think
Yes,
I think he would have.
maybe those two. But look at the other ones. I mean, either way, it's like, yeah, the Eastern Seaboard, California, all except for two of those states, Michigan and Wisconsin, and I guess and it's Oregon, right? Oregon and Washington State. Those are the only blue states, really. Vermont, even Maine's a red. It's like split 50-50. You know what I mean? Most of the Democratic states and most of the Democratic voters voted for Hillary. Take out that sea of red states in the middle of the country there, and it doesn't look too good for Bernie there. That's why Hillary got the nomination. 4 million more votes. Anyway.
I don't have the facts to back up my argument, but I am confident that if Bernie had won in 2016 and been the candidate, that Trump would not have won and everything would be different, and that the down ballot would have been different. Like,
Yeah. Either way, it doesn't really matter. I mean, shit, man. I blame George W. Bush for all of our problems right now. Anyway, if Gore had won if the Supreme Court, if John Roberts and them wouldn't have given the country to George W. Bush after he lost in 2000, the country would be a lot different.
what a wild bit of thievery that was.
I know. Just think about how much different the world would be. The Iraq and Afghanistan stuff wouldn't have happened. 9/11 probably wouldn't have happened. You know what I
Probably
mean?
would have happened differently.
I don't know, man. I mean, they were asleep at the fucking wheel, man. They were told that Obama was going to go. Sorry, not Obama. Jesus. They were told that Republicans would love that someday. They were told that at at Bin Laden.
Osama.
Yeah, Osama, not Obama.
Osama, not
They were
Obama.
told that Osama was going to come here and how they're going to do it with the planes. I mean, say what you want about the Democrats, man. They're fucking policy wonks. They're nerds. They're bookworms. They pay attention to these things. They would have been on that shit. They would have been looking for things. Something may have happened, but it probably wouldn't have been exactly like it was 9/11. If it had been Hillary, she would have shot that fucking plane down. They would never, at least the second one wouldn't have hit. You know what I mean? Granted, people would have hated it, but she wouldn't have sat there reading My Pet Goat for 5 minutes, shell shocked, staring at a book, not knowing what in the fuck to even do, and she would have got some shit done. Democrats are usually
Oh god, I
smarter.
can barely remember. I was so young, I don't even think I know all the details. But like, I'm vaguely remembering, he was like at a children's, like a school
He
or
was at
something, and he
school
was
and he's
reading a
reading
book.
My Pet. The kids were reading My Pet Goat, and he was sitting there reading My Pet Goat. I don't remember if the book was actually upside down or if that's just a funny memory in my head. But he's sitting there with My Pet Goat, and they came and whispered to him that the United States is under attack, Mr. President. The United States is under attack. That's what they came and told him. That's what they whispered in his ear. The United States is under attack. And then his eyes just got all buggy, and he just froze and held that book, and he just stared straight, not turning pages, staring straight ahead for like 5 minutes straight. And they came back in there, and they're like, "Sir, the United States, we have to come." And then he come, and he stood up and he walked out there with them.
Why didn't they just take him? They should have just, like,
They,
you know what I mean? Like,
I, I don't know, man, but whatever. He just froze. Then they got there, and whatever. I mean, shit happens. I mean,
it's probably
long
Cheney
story
calling the
short, though,
shots
I
at that
mean,
point anyway.
but yeah, their whole this is way off track, man. We're such a fucking tangent than the current
We're
modern
so
world. I'm just saying though, man. God, if you wouldn't have had all that stuff, you wouldn't have had Iraq, you wouldn't have had the other things. Money would have not been wasted over there. We would have still had a budget surplus. God, because they
climate
inherited
stuff
the
would have
budget
been so
surplus.
different. Yeah,
Debt deficit would have been probably still cranking. Man, the world would have been so
probably
much different. Huge
probably
tax
would have
breaks for the
raised the
rich would
minimum
have.
wage.
They would have worked. Yeah, I mean, God, the fortunes of Americans and the fortune of America and the
When was
so
Citizens
changed by
United?
2000. Citizens United. That was what the 2004. I don't remember when Citizens United was exactly when. I don't remember, but you wouldn't have the same judges. You wouldn't have the same judges on the bench. You wouldn't have
Yeah.
gotten Citizens United. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Oh man. Oh, when was it? When was the court case? Well, it's 15 years later now, so it's 2009. Yeah, 2008, 2009. But either way, man, we got off on a big tangent. Jesus Christ, we're going to have fun editing this episode.
No, we're just gonna leave the tangent in. It's fine.
Okay,
It's just us and Fan anyway.
that's true. Either way, man, I just think I'm.
I think that, like, the debate about the soul of the parties is a more interesting conversation than a rehashing
Yeah,
of the news when it's just a rehashing of the news. I think, like, there's a point of differentiation, or,
yeah,
it is the things that in our opinions, and I think specifically in the ways that they're different, because we both feel very strongly and have, like, a lot where we're lined up, but also, like, a lot of places where we're diverging.
yeah.
And I think that's a pretty interesting thing as like an angle, like as like take something new and use that to go into something from the past,
Yeah.
or something that's more of like a larger philosophical discussion. I think those are more interesting things that we're going to be able to do better than trying to,
Just talk about the news.
yeah, like we're
I can
not
talk
going to
about the
like
same story that everybody else is talking
journalist.
about with less information and less, without my public speaking degrees and my communications degrees and my years in the media.
A no
Yeah,
camera crew.
yeah,
Yeah,
without my camera
exactly.
crew, but
Exactly.
I have a good camera. I got this big light overhead that makes me look like a halo above me, which is why we're just talking.
By the way, I did do some research on switching us over to Riverside.
Okay.
And it's not going to be too hard to to whatchamacallit. It's not going to be too hard to transfer the hosting. Um, so like the whole switch won't be, like, it won't be very hard at all actually. So um, we can do it. We might switch to Riverside, like just audio at first, just to like I'll do the switch because it's pretty simple,
Yeah.
and then we can still I still think there's going to be more fine tuning in the video stuff, which is like how much you want to show versus talk through. But yeah, I feel like there was something else that I really wanted to talk about this week. What else? What else? You know, one
Oh
of the
my
things
god. I think we
what?
should talk about it. I don't know if we're going to talk about it or not, but I just think it needs to be said
Uh-huh.
at the risk of uh, a slander lawsuit. Steve Witkoff is Vladimir Putin's fleshlight.
I don't think I don't think
He
we're
he
high
is
profile enough to sue at this
he
point.
is absolutely his cum sock. That's what Steve Witkoff is. And no, actually, you know what made me think of Steve Witkoff? I was following the Wikipedia thing after one little link, where I was reading about the Democratic thing, and I clicked on something else. And the Overton window was still up, and I clicked on another little link just from there. It says argument to moderation. Argument to moderation, also known as the false compromise, argument from the middle ground, fallacy of gray. It's the fallacy that the truth is always in the middle of two opposites. Does not necessarily suggest that an argument for the middle solution or for compromise is always fallacious, but rather applies primarily in cases where such a position is ill informed, unfeasible, or impossible, or where an argument is incorrectly made that a position is correct simply because it is in the middle. Right? That just made me think of Steve Witkoff, who's not even going in the middle of Vladimir Putin's absolutely retarded, stupid Ukraine is not even really a country. It was, bullshit, bullshit. Crimea was never part of this. We never recognized Ukraine,
Well, you hear
even
that
though we did all this. That
they're
they
saying
have,
they won't even agree to a ceasefire
yeah, no, but
unless
but that's Vladimir Putin on one side,
uh-huh.
right? That's their side, and Ukraine's on the side saying, "Hey, yeah, we want to have our country. we want to be alive. We don't want our hospitals and schools being blown up every fucking day. Hey, yeah, it'd be great not to be invaded and have our people slaughtered and our children stolen and taken God knows where and has no God knows what's happening to them and our people being literally skinned alive and killed and raped and tortured and everything else that's going on, right? Okay, that's their side.
Starved.
Steve Witkoff is not even in the middle between those two sides. Steve Witkoff is saying, all right, I'm going to negotiate this for Trump. We're going to negotiate a peace. Yeah, fuck you, Ukraine. You never even should have been a country. What's wrong with you trying to defend your country? Hey,
Standing there
here,
next to Russia
here are
looking
some
like a
legitimate
democracy. You were asking for
there are
a
some
war of
legitimate
aggression.
questions here about whether or not they are even entitled to nationhood. Tucker Carlson, his interview with Tucker Carlson. Everybody should watch it. Khrushchev was a Ukrainian, and that's why he gave them Crimea. Not true. And wow, can't you even Google? He's just saying bullshit. It's not even true. He was talking about the regions. This is insane. It's preposterous that they even tried to take over Ukraine. They only wanted those regions in Ukraine that they feel is rightfully theirs. And then he says, you know, like Crimea, Donbass, and Donbass, by the way, is not a region. I mean, it's a region, but not an oblast, right? You know, and he couldn't name any other ones. Like Crimea and Donbass and the other regions. And Tucker Carlson tried helping him out, with the names of the other regions. This is the guy, the point man, the guy negotiating. He doesn't even know the fucking oblasts, that Russia is now trying to claim. Forget the fact that they had Kiev surrounded and they were going through all the other places. They were trying to take Ukraine, you know. But now Steve Witkoff is just no. They were never trying to do that. Russia never did that. They're just legitimate questions here, and they really want to please. And Vladimir Putin, I really have great respect for him. He is such a good, he's an honest broker, and he's so trustworthy, and I just love his nutsack. Yeah, and that's the guy. Ugh, gag.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's extremely
it's
frustrating.
infuriating. It's infuriating. It's so infuriating.
And here's the thing that doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. Oh my God. I don't know how Zelensky, I don't know how he cannot go 300 on these people, man, and just kick them into a pit. I mean, Jesus Christ. I don't
I
know
know
how he
how.
does it. I know how. I know
I know
why. I
how.
know how, because he
I know
has
how
to.
because he's Ukrainian.
But not just that. I mean, but no, I mean, Jesus Christ, the self control and seeing the bigger picture and knowing and biting your tongue. God, I could never do what he's doing. I could never bite my tongue and act like, yes, we want peace and oh, we're so grateful, Americans. Yes, we're going to do this. And yeah, well, hey, we'll agree. And just try to play the game, and I mean, God, I don't see how he could do that, man. Oh my God. Hats
Because
off
he
to
had
Zelensky, man.
because he has to.
I know because he has to, but shit.
But no, yeah,
God, I couldn't
it,
imagine. I could not imagine
it's
being in his position.
I know there's a lot of
Oh yeah,
criticisms of Zelensky's
yeah,
from
Steve Witkoff saying
Ukrainians.
that all these areas that Russia's in control of right now, well, there was already referendums. All those people voted to be part of Russia, which they didn't. There's video of it. People had machine guns to their head with ballots. They still didn't even vote for Russia. They just handed in blank ballots,
Hmm.
and then they sit there on video counting blank ballots, with military people there with guns pointed at them, like, oh, yep, all these votes. Yep, here's another vote for Russia. There's another vote. We want to join Russia, and they're literally showing blank ballots. You can see it, and they're just acting like it's a normal ballot that they're counting, and you can see it with your eyes. And that's what Steve Witkoff says was a fair election. They voted in a referendum to join Russia. So I
Yeah.
don't know what Ukraine's bitching about. God, ugh, it's sickening. It's so sickening. Sorry, that was my rant.
No, it's good. There's a
Hmm.
I was listening to On Freedom while I was driving. Uh, I was driving. Where are we at? I'm just gonna make a footnote. Uh, I was driving for. Wait. Gosh. Okay. I'll remember to edit this out. I was driving for Lyft, uh, and I was um, I was listening to On Freedom, and it was making me cry. There was there's this part at the beginning where he talks about how he went to a village uh, that had been uh, what were they saying? They were saying that it was liberated, and he was like, well, the Ukrainians say that when the Russians leave that it's deoccupied, not liberated,
Yep.
because the absence of tyranny doesn't equate to freedom. Like, once you can have train service, that's when they switch it. They'll say that it's liberated. But he was talking about like this thing that had happened. Like in this town, there were 37 people who hid in a basement.
Yep.
And of the 37 people, 16 of them died, and like I don't know, like 8 more were. I wish I remembered the numbers better, but it was over half of them, right? Were like a bunch of people died, and a bunch more people were like seriously injured, and like the rest of them like, starved to death and hung out in a basement for weeks with bodies and like
Yeah.
managed to not die, and like now there's this woman sitting outside the remnants of her house, um, in a tent, because now they have tents, and so like, yeah, it's better that you know she
Yeah.
has a
Well, the
shelter,
basement.
but she has
Nothing.
like one chair,
Yep.
you know and like, so like, she can't invite someone into her house or like host or like you don't have the ability to have dignity when you're forced to live in a tent because your home has been destroyed. And like, this was like such an affecting story that it was making me cry, but like, the I think like it carries more weight because I know so many other stories, like if you watch the couple of like Ukrainian documentaries, like I think one of them's Winter on Fire, and the other one that I saw was like, the Revolution of Dignity, or it was about that. I don't remember what the name of it was. But you hear the stories of like, this was like something on the news the other day. It was a general. It was like a former. Oh, he's like a Democratic senator, I think, and he's bald, and he used to be a general. Do you know what I'm talking about? I feel like
Bald, former
yeah,
general in the Senate.
I think so.
In the Senate.
And a Democrat.
Oh, wow. He's a Democrat now? No. No, wait.
What's his
No,
name? What's the
no,
name?
man. I have no idea who you're talking about, actually.
Dang
No,
it.
I'm,
Okay,
I'm
I'm gonna have to
reading.
find. I'm gonna have to find the video and like send it to you because it was maybe he's a congressman or something, and I'm just like wrong about. But I thought he
General.
was. I
He
swear
couldn't
he
have been a
was
general.
pilot. Maybe I thought it was general. Maybe it's pilot.
I have no idea who you're talking about. I mean, other than Mark Kelly. I mean, Mark
That's
Kelly
what
was.
I think that's who I'm thinking of. Isn't he bald?
He is bald.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Okay,
That's
but
him. It's him. What was he? He was a what?
he's an astronaut. He was a Navy captain.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I'm just getting all these
Okay.
details wrong. So, but no, I was watching Mark Kelly, right? He was
Okay.
talking on one of the like, I think it was like an MSNBC show. Okay, like it wasn't a blog. It was a legacy media thing. And he's like, they're having a woman like tell her story, and like the anchor talks about the story, and they go to Mark Kelly, and he's like, yeah, so like, you told part of the story, but the part of the story that you didn't tell, I'm gonna tell because I think people need to hear about it. And he goes on to tell like the rest of the story, and the rest of the story is that this woman was a nurse in an occupied city, and the city has been deoccupied.
Hmm.
But like, when she tells about the stories of things that happened, she talks about how they raped children in
Oh yeah.
front of their parents, and
Yep.
then they killed the children, and then they killed the parents.
Yep.
Like, there are so many stories like that
A lot.
of just like,
Hmm.
Auschwitz Nazi level,
Torture. Yeah. Just absolute
just
worst.
evil,
Evil.
just like the only response like that feels appropriate is to just savagely delete
Hmm.
them, you know
Hmm.
and like everyone who thought of supporting them, you just that's the only thing that feels appropriate, and you feel like you would be dirty from having done it because they're so horrible. Like, so to have whatever the guy's name is, I, I Pete Wiskoff,
Pete
the
Witkoff.
flesh, Putin's flesh
Yeah.
sock. Uh,
Pete Witkoff or Steve
yeah,
Witkoff.
Pete
Steve
Steve
Witkoff.
Cumsock, come
Steve
Steve
Comstock.
Steve Cumsock,
Steve
you
Comstock. There you
know,
go.
be like negotiating completely on the side of Russia is just despicable. Like, if
Yeah.
the more you know, the more despicable you know that it is.
Hmm.
But even completely aside from that, okay, just from like just purely from like an America first position, okay, our trading partners over the last 80 years in North America and South America and Europe, okay, if you just take the North American countries and the European countries, right? The North American countries have like, I'm gonna get the number of trillions wrong, but I have in my brain 76. The North American countries have like a lot of trillions, and the Europeans have 26 trillions in their GDP. All of Europe's GDP, 26 trillion. Russia's GDP is 2 trillion. They're a gas station with nukes. They have nothing, right? So like, why would you like, aggressively stop trading with the people who have $26 trillion a year and instead choose to trade with the people who have $2 trillion a year?
That's easy.
Like,
That's easy.
okay.
Because one is a dictator who does whatever he wants and criminal behavior and can launder you tons of money on illegal crypto money and everything else and just do it because every person in power and positions of authority in Russia are criminals. And it's a criminal enterprise. It literally is. That is what happened with Russia after the fall of the Soviet Union. Criminals scooped up little parts of industry, kind of like like the robber barons in the United States, and they all became like a criminal network. Putin runs it, and that's why Putin gets a cut of everything. And it's a criminal enterprise. So what does one criminal like? Likes doing deals with another criminal. It's kind of like the whole honor among thieves type thing. You can't do business with the democratically elected people who have oversight and will watch this shit because that does not benefit you. You need to do deals with another criminal. Done.
No, yeah, you're completely right. I'm doing the thing where like I assume they're people negotiating from a genuine, a differing opinion.
No, that's another thing. Actually, there's another good thing because oh my shit, I remember I was watching another podcast. I can't remember what I was watching, and they're talking about like John Mearsheimer, right, famous political scientist. When I was in political science classes at Indiana University, whatever, they were always talk about this, and this guy was talk about realism and blah 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 realism. You know, uh, big power countries. They always enter into negotiations. Was it power politics, whatever it's called? I can't remember shit. I can't remember the term right now. But yeah, saying that nations will always go with what their interest is, and that's always their primary thing. It's their own interest. That is what they always negotiate with, whatever's in their own interest, right? Which makes it seem like a transactional type of administration like Trump would make sense. Oh, they must be doing it for what's best for your country. But you can easily see a million times over when countries just don't do that. That is not the way countries do behave. There are plenty of times when it would not be in our country's direct best interest to say get involved with you know um, Bosnia, right? The Serbs, right? In the 90s, right? The Serbians were committing genocide down there, right? They were killing all the Muslim people in there and going to Bosnia, and they were doing all this stuff. What was our nation's interest in it? There was none, really, other than the fact that it was the right thing to do to stop it. There's a genocide going on, and we can stop it. You know what? Fuck it. We need to show the world we still are the ones that people can look at in the 90s, right? Stop a genocide. Boom, we did it. Yay. There really was nothing in it for us at the time. Tiny little thing. I mean, Serbia and Croatia and Bosnia, war torn, country. I mean, there was nothing really there at the time other than to do the right thing. And there's plenty of examples where we try to do the right thing. When Assad and Putin were killing all the people in Syria, right? And you know, Obama and them were like, "Hey, you know what? We're going to put a no-fly zone. We're going to stop this. We're going to stop them, right? And we're going to do strikes and things like that, right?" What was the real thing for America at the time? Not really much. I mean, maybe give Russia a black eye or something, but there wasn't really anything in it for us, right? Sometimes you do it because it's the right thing to do, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so but yeah, like in this case, Trump, like what you're saying, doing negotiations. Why would they take the side of Russia? It is not because it's in the United States' best interest. Not. So if you do that, huh? What is it? What else could it be if it's not in our nation's best interest? And why are we going to side with the group that has explicitly said their mission is to destroy the West and America, United States? You know, it's obviously not because it's best for the country. It's because it's what's best for Trump.
Because that's for Trump. And the other thing I was going to say that I was thinking of as you were starting to talk was about how a recession is basically a sale for rich people.
What's a sale for rich people?
A recession.
Well, yeah.
So, like, in a recession, a lot of people stop earning money, but the people who earn money by having money continue to, their
They buy a
wealth
lot
will be
more.
less, but they hold the same assets, right? And then everything becomes cheaper because people who are downstream, who don't have like huge amounts of money, can't weather it. So a
Yep.
lot of businesses close, a lot of retail spaces go empty, and they just buy up real estate and they buy up investments. When Tesla stock goes down, somebody comes in and buys a bunch of it because it's on sale.
Mm-hmm.
Like a recession is a sale for rich people. That's not my idea. That's from there's an Instagram video of someone who used to be like they used to be in like wealth management for somebody, and they were like, yeah, I was in the rooms with all these people all the time, and like they would talk about a recession like it's just a sale. Like like you talk about like Black Friday. That's how they talk about a recession.
Yeah.
All right,
Really?
so um, a couple things I want to do before as we're wrapping up. One is that several episodes ago, I went on a rant about what the Democrats need to do, and Bernie and AOC heard me, and they were like, you know what, Gabe, we agree, and we're gonna do it. Fighting Oligarchy tour, and they hit the road, and they have been selling out arenas and blowing up. Love to see it, and love to be able to remind fan that I was right. And I would love for more of them to do the same thing. That's the energy that we need. Um, the the other thing is like that. I'm seeing articles from BBC and the Guardian about how Chuck Schumer should resign. So while I was quite colorful in my dissatisfaction, um, it is also a popular opinion that like this is not the strategy that we need. Um, which brings me back around to your point, which is about the 3.5% rule, which is that the thing that has always, every time it's ever happened, it has resulted in revolutionary change. If 3.5% of the population of a nation goes into continuous protest, and if they do it for a few weeks, few months, like they go in continuous protest, they always get change. It's happened over and over and over again. There's like I'm gonna link a video where somebody talks about it, and talks about like a Harvard study that studied a whole bunch of different times that this has happened over the last 100 years. It has like a ton of examples of it working out this way. I can't remember if it's from a book or just like a research paper, but it was somebody, and it was like a woman from Harvard who did the research. So um, to your point, like 3.5% of the people in the streets. And this is like the thing that I was thinking about when I was talking about, shutting down the government, because shutting down the government was the was the best play for the Democrats to get 3.5% of the population in continuous protest. So, I mean, I guess we missed our first shot. We have another shot in like 5.5 more months. So we'll see what the state of things is then, and what we do. And I hope we do something different than rolling over for nothing. Um,
I started to laugh
well,
when you brought up Chuck Schumer.
yeah.
I was trying to Google at the same time you bring up Chuck Schumer. I was going to Google his poll numbers, right?
Hmm.
And I was just laughing because as I typed in polling Chuck Schumer, what my keyboard typed out was polling Cuck Schumer. I started laughing to myself. I was like, "Oh
I
shit,
just
polling Cuck
drilled it
Schumer."
into your
It
brain
just typed it
that
in.
it's
It
his
just
name now.
the H just didn't happen. The H didn't happen. It was so hilarious. It was totally unintentional, you know.
It's a silent H.
But here's the thing, though. I don't think he's going to go anywhere really. Um, you know, surprisingly, you know, here's a nice story from 5 days ago. It's just pretty funny. It says Harris dominates in poll on who Democrats want as next president, with AOC in third. You know, so
Hmm.
yeah, they were doing if the 2028 primary is held right now, Kamala Harris tops out, AOC comes in third. You know, She
If the
36.
20 in the 2028 primary,
If it were
it
held
would
today,
be Kamala Harris.
that's who right now. That's who the polling as of 5 days ago. That's who the Democrats won. 36% said Kamala.
What was it,
Uh,
like an open poll, or did they like give them
yeah,
three choices?
it was an open poll. Yeah, Kamala Harris came in 36%. Bernie Sanders. Let's see.
So
It says how it says 36%. Ocasio Cortez, who is touring with the U.S., with Trump, with Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, was in third place with 5%. Sanders doesn't say here. It says Tim Walz was tied with AOC at 5%. Gavin Newsom is at 5%. Um, after Harris, the most popular response was 13% with don't know or no opinion. 10% chose Pete Buttigieg. Mark Cuban and Josh Shapiro had 4% each. I mean, so, but yeah, it was an
John
open-ended
Ossoff
thing.
didn't make the list.
Nope.
Did no one see his speech?
His speech or his thing at the hearing the other day.
Oh, both were
Yeah,
awesome. But he gave
I
a.
didn't see a
I saw it.
speech,
I'll
but
have to find it. I'll send it to you. It's good. It's real good.
yeah, but they were saying that the time is now for Harris to declare if she's going to run or not. Because she has a big, as of right now, she's still the one person who everybody in the party, 36% is like,
You
yep,
know, you know what I don't want the Democrats to do?
I know what you don't want them to do, and I don't know how you can say it politically correct, but yes, you
I
don't want them
don't
to put a
want the
woman or a black
Democrats
person.
to want to run someone who is not a white man,
I know.
because they have not shown an ability to succeed with that strategy. and
Well, they
and
did in
when we are
2008
in
and
the
2012.
and when we are in the worst place politically we've ever been, is not the time
I don't know, man. You know what I
for
think?
breaking the glass ceiling.
You know what though? Here's the thing: Joe Biden ran for president like 4 times, and he never got anywhere before. Right? When did he win? After Trump fucked up this country big time. And I think you would have been right in 2020 about Bernie. I think any person with a pulse with a D next to their name was going to beat Trump in 2020. I mean, especially if they were white, but he fucked this country up so bad. Americans just have really short attention spans and memories, right?
I mean, honestly, I would love it for it to be AOC. I mean, I would
I
love for it to
like
be
her. I don't think
AOC.
she.
I'd love for it to be Pete Buttigieg. I would,
I
at
want to
this
see
point, I
AOC.
would be
I want to see
so happy to
AOC
have a Kamala
primary.
Harris presidency.
I want to see AOC primary Schumer, and I'd be okay with. I love AOC. I
Because like
really do like her.
because like I don't
You know what?
I
She's
almost like
actually a
don't
good
want
Democrat.
her. I almost don't want her to go, and like run for the president, as much as I would love to see her be president, because I would like to get more years of, like, you know political spotlight out of her. I would like more years of service from her.
Oh my god.
But I mean, like, if she's the closest thing to like somebody that Bernie can just like pass the torch to, and she's young. And maybe if we like actually give somebody young a chance, it will, lead to like a bigger change, a sweep of like a bunch more young people getting in at different levels of government, which could be much more impactful. And I guess, like, there are a lot of people who voted for Trump and voted for AOC because they have that same like radical change, burn it all down energy. So I mean, I just care. The thing I care most about is winning. The second thing that I care about is, like, when you win, that you go hard. That you go fucking hard. I don't want somebody who's gonna like barely win, or sweep and have a massive, a mandate, lol, and then you know sue for peace. I don't want another Obama one at all.
I don't either. But
There's nothing worse
no.
you could do to the Democratic Party than sell hope and change and deliver business as usual yet again. I feel like,
Yeah. Although, I mean, the funny thing about Biden is, after Trump won, after Trump's first term, business as usual was such a welcome hope and change. Because
It
Trump was
was.
unusual. Trump was so horrid that simply, like in on tyranny, I mean, one of the things, defend institutions, right? Do you think like that? You know what I mean? Some of these
Yeah.
rules in here, what Biden was doing was a lot of the right things. Believe in truth and don't fall to this other stuff here. You know, uh, remember professional ethics, doing the thing, all these core rules on here, right? That lessons about it, right? Biden
Hmm.
was doing that playbook, and yes, institutions, defending institutions, doing this like that, not trying trying to show everybody that what government can be good. The pandemic response was great, lowest poverty ever, like, well, in going back 50, 60 years where they get right, doing great things. And for a couple of years, like, you know, really brought the country back. You know what I mean? And then, yes, inflation took off a little bit. It did that fucking worldwide, people. God damn it, But like, saved the country, not by radical change. Did a lot of really good progressive things. And yes, they'd go slower than everybody like, but simply by being sane, doing things the way it's supposed to be, returning to normalcy, which after 4 years of Trump was a huge change. God, I can't believe everybody forgot what the first term and right now what it is under Trump. Every fucking day, you cannot interact with another human being without hearing the word Trump 10 times in a day. It is impossible talking to other humans to not hear Trump at least a couple of times a day. Everybody, every day, all about what Trump's doing now. What is Trump doing now? Da, 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 da. That's not normal. Politics is usually boring. Usually politics is kind of boring to people. I mean, yes, there's political junkies and people like me who watch and stuff like that, but the average layperson doesn't usually talk politics all day long, and they're not usually horrified by what's going on in politics every single day, and that's
Hmm.
the way it's supposed to be. So in that way, Biden was selling hope and change just by being status quo, because it was a return to, hey people, America, hey America, America, I mean it, let's
You
not
can,
let's not all talk about
you guys can just go
destroying the
back and watch
world.
TV. All
Yeah,
right,
come
it's
on,
for
man.
real. Like I'm
I
not
mean,
kidding around,
I'm not
guys.
kidding around, guys. I mean, let's be boring for a little while. We had enough of that. I'm serious. I'm not fooling around.
I'm
It's
not
true.
fooling around, guys. Like I
But
got
you
it.
know what I'm saying?
Okay,
You know what I'm saying though?
I'll
That
take it.
was a huge departure after Trump, because it got to be that it's got to be so horrible. It's like one of those things people talk about. Don't tune out. Don't tune out. Don't normalize this. This isn't normal. It wasn't normal. Shit. You know. Tried to bring it back. You know what I mean? Instead of being the
Oh,
pendulum. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
you
It
know what?
was a
Also,
vast departure. It
it
was a vast
was, and
departure from Trump.
it was really
Very
nice to be
respectful.
able to turn my brain off for a
Yes,
while and not
that was a big
oh, how
departure
is the
after
sky
4 years of
falling?
Trump. Let's not forget what we left and then what we got.
It was
I mean,
it
if he
was
had
like
another 4 years, and if he had another 4 years, maybe took a few more House seats, then maybe they could have gone further the other way, and done. I mean, 4 years. It is hard to undo all the fuckery in one term. It
well, I
is.
mean,
It can be.
I liked Biden's presidency. I just don't want normal, and I don't think normal sells. Like I don't think normal is a great sales pitch.
Yeah, but there's a reason why in like unstable countries, you know, there's a reason why things should change fairly slowly, not radical changes administration to administration. That leads to instability. That leads to coups. That leads to third world countries where every few years somebody else is taking over and then somebody else will take over. They always swing wildly one place to the next. Business cannot survive in environments like that. Collapse and economies collapse. It becomes horrible places. You got to move things along slow, bringing the masses with you. You can't just go from Obamacare to no federal government whatsoever. Trump's going to demolish everything and give everything to Tesla. And then go from that to fuck that. Nope. We're going to kill all the rich people. We're taking their money. Everybody, we have this. And go the other way, super swing it. Because then that's going to lead to another person coming in and saying, No, we had this. And they're going to go the other way, and it's not stable. It's not tenable. You cannot run a country like that. Can't, because big changes cause a lot of ripples, a lot of problems, and it takes time to make things work out. Otherwise, people will always be mad and always want something going the other way. And shit, man, it's like it's my money and I want it now. People always want it now. People always want
Man,
everything right now. We're
I don't agree.
mm,
I don't agree. I feel like it depends on what the change is.
it depends on
If
what the catalyst for the change is.
no,
If
but
it's an
like if the
internal thing
change,
or an external thing. World War II, wars, perfect example. Perfect example. Anytime somebody invades a country, that country, they are on board, man. They are. That doesn't. I don't give a shit if your country was a bunch of Quakers and Puritan or whatever pacifists. Okay, you get
Mhm.
invaded, everybody's on board. We're on the same team. Everything's for this war. You like FDR stuff. You know what I mean? They bombed Pearl Harbor. Shit, man. This isolationist country very rapidly everything for the war movement, right? And everybody was on board with it, right? 180, right? External events have to cause it. Just somebody internal stuff wanting to change stuff like that and just do things a different way and causing radical change doesn't work. It has to be a unifying event that will bring everybody together. That usually only comes from external factors. 9/11, World Trade Center got hit. Bam. George W. Bush was fucking hated by everybody. Michael Moore. And look at his numbers, man. An external event, and all of a sudden everybody's like, yeah, Patriot Act. Let the government surveil us. Let's get those terrorists. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 80 something percent approval rating for George W. Bush. At the time, the stupidest president who ever sat in the Oval Office. Right? Everybody was all happy. Yeah, go America. We renamed French fries to freedom fries, man. It was fucking stupid, right? But it's an external event that caused everybody to do it. Just internal domestic politics. We need to do this. You're not going to get everybody on board for such radical changes to things. It's not going to happen. Half the country will love it. Half the country will hate it. It'll swing the other way. And then
I think it
anytime
depends
you
on what the
implement,
radical change is. If the radical change is that everyone has 30% more money,
if everybody had 30% more money, then everybody's going to have inflation go up and then prices are going to go up. And that's exactly what happened under Biden.
okay, here's the thing. That's not, first of all, that's not exactly what happened under Biden.
It's not exactly, but everybody had more money.
Second of all, people say that all the time.
It's
Okay.
true.
But when they talked about raising the minimum wage in California, and they're like, "Oh, the prices for you raise the minimum wage, the prices for all the fast food's going to go up." Okay, when they actually studied the effects of the change in the prices of fast food, initially they raised the prices of fast food by 4.5%. And then they realized that that was more than what they needed to raise the price of food by to account for the additional cost. And then they lowered it uh, in the next quarter. They only raised it by 2.7%, which was less than the average
Yeah.
of. So like
I'm reading
my
the
point is
same.
this: like when you raise the minimum wage, you create a lot more stability in jobs because people aren't having all these terrible jobs that they don't care about, that they're not making any money at.
Mm-hmm.
So like when everyone has enough to be content, they're much more likely to work for their contentedness, especially when it is new.
Yep.
Okay? And especially when it's like, well, you don't know how long this is going to last. Okay? So if you give the people a
God, we
massive
hated this.
increase in the minimum wage, I, I, I promise you, you you will accomplish massive change, and you will win the next election cycle. You'll win the midterms. That should be the number one priority. Because you know what you'd love to be able to say going into the midterms? You'd love to be able to say, yeah, well, we raised the minimum wage $35 an hour now. So economy's doing great. People are on a spending frenzy.
Yeah. Yeah. It depends on the changes, though. It depends. And here's the thing, though. Yeah, 6 months later, they said, yeah, wages went up 18%. price increases only went up 3 to 7%. But it's not only what the real effect is; it's what people's perception is. Look at it, Obamacare, ACA, right? The perception. Remember at the time, what was it? Death panels. Death panels. Oh my God, a really good thing happened, and what happened as a result? Democrats lost their asses because the perception was bad at the time. So
That's true. That's a
doesn't
good
matter what the
point.
reality is; it's what the perception is. Radical change will cause a lot of backlash and negative ads and people lying in some senses and exaggerating what they're really doing and everything else, and it can blow up pretty quickly. Cost of Democrats.
So, what could go right?
What could go right? You okay? What? Okay, what could go? Sorry, I was mute. What
I
could go
know.
right is the administration may shock us all and listen to the judges who are ruling against them over and over again.
All right, that is that is an answer. Um,
Um, if not, we're fucked. Really fucked.
my what could go right? Um, my what could go right is that Pete Hegseth could get fired over Signal Gate.
Oh yeah, maybe then they'll promote Tulsi.
Tulsi's already Tulsi. That would be a demotion.
I don't think so.
Department of
Running
Defense versus Department of
DNI?
National Intelligence.
Yes. Yeah,
Mm, I
I
don't.
think so.
Okay.
DNI is kind of like DNI is kind of like you're privy to all the intelligence from the different agencies, right? And you get to report to the president. Hey, whatever. Here's what you think, right? Whatever. Head of the Pentagon. I mean, you run the military. You run all the defense contracts. You run the largest organization in the world.
Yeah, but the DNI runs all the spies.
They don't run the spies. The
She's the
DNI, the
director.
Director of National Intelligence, does not run everything. It's kind of like that position we had in our company, head of product. That wasn't really head of product. They just kind of, got all the information from all the product owners and kind of said, "Hey, head of product," but you don't really run anything. You just kind of process everything from all the different pieces, and you report to the president and everything.
Well, I think they would bring in another. They would
Russian
be like it would be like Tucker
Steve Witkoff
Carlton
probably
would
get it. Probably
become
Steve.
the
Yeah.
Steve Witkoff would be the new. You know
Vladimir Putin would become the new one. Yeah, I know.
what's the who it would be? I know exactly who it would be. What's
Sebastian Borka, whatever his name is, the other guy.
no, it's even better. It would be Elon's 4-year-old son who was wiping his boogers on Trump
All
in the Oval Office. That would be the new.
right. No,
Just be
no,
Elon's way of teabagging Trump publicly. Okay. This has been a week. Probably going to call this one the one with the tangents. I still like it
That's
better
one.
than last week. Yeah, stay. I don't know. Keep your chin up.
Uh, resist. Bring it back, man. Resist. We need
Okay.
it.
Yeah, I like that better. Good night and
Good luck.
good luck. Thanks for
All
tuning in. Like, comment, and share, please, fan. Put something in
right.
the comments. We will respond. All right, great.
We will.